The first thing Alida feels is not pain. She's too used to that. Her mind mostly tunes it out these days, unless Handler orders her to feel it. No, the first sensation that runs through Alida's broken body, through her burned out nervous system, up into the recesses of her brain is softness. Plush. She's lying on something soft. That's weird. She hasn't slept on anything soft in a long, long time. Has Handler given her a mattress as a reward? Has Alida been a good hound in the field again? Normally, if she's good, she gets other kinds of treats. The boot, usually. Getting to brush Handler's hair if she's extremely lucky, or Handler's in an extremely good mood. The mattress was new. She must have done something incredible, although, truth be told, she'd much rather have her presence as a reward. Alida racks her brain trying to think of the feat she must have accomplished to earn this. Her memories are fuzzy. Nothing surprising there. They usually are. Hound guards its recollection jealously. It only shares when it's important or when Handler tells it to. Straining the muscles around her skull, Alida tries to will her blood to flow faster through her brain. She struggles with the closed-off sections of her mind, trying to pry them open. She wants to know what good she did so she can do it again. Her reverie is interrupted by a second, long-forgotten sensation. A scent this time. Alida's nose twitches. Wrinkles dance on her forehead as she tries to remember what the smell is. Cherry pie, she realizes. That's very strange. As far as she can remember, there aren't any ovens down in the kennels, unless you count the incinerators. Nor the kitchen either, for that matter. The hounds get fed the leftovers from the barracks, mixed in with canned dog food. Handler arranged for some fresh pie to be delivered to Alida specifically? She must have been a very good hound. Something about that feels wrong. That doesn't sound like the kind of reward she would give her. Was Alida operating undercover, perhaps? Handler had talked about that before. Said she thought Alida could do well and another experiment to see if conditioning held. But that had been quite some time ago. Alida wasn't really able to tell time anymore, but it had been over a dozen missions ago at least. Handler hadn't brought it up again lately. Because... Alida recoils uncomfortably from the thought. She's not quite sure where it was leading, but she knows it isn't good. Better to ignore it. She should probably think about getting up anyway. Handler would have another mission briefing for her today, or perhaps a conditioning session. Alida wouldn't want to make her wait. She doesn't like that. Her eyes still closed. She likes to wake up slowly. Alida tries to sit up. A sharp, stabbing pain all through her gut immediately forces her back down onto the mattress, and she feels a wetness leaking through what she guesses are bandages around her stomach. She's injured then. Is she in the sickbay? That might explain a few things. Hounds normally aren't sent there. They are wounded. They are left to recover on their own or die. They are even given the time to heal in the first place before being sent back out, but Alida's Handler's finest work. Perhaps she's made an exception in her case. Marceline, she's stirring. Heavens, she's losing a lot of blood. The voice freezes Alida's blood in her veins. That doesn't sound like an Imperial she's ever heard. Her body tenses up. The wet patches on her abdomen grows larger. It lasts for a moment. Then she relaxes. She's never been in the med bay before, after all. Perhaps this is just what doctors sound like. Yes, that must be it. A friendly tone would be weird in the army and outside of Handler on rare occasions, especially in the kennels, but maybe things are different among the wounded and their healers. Footsteps from somewhere. A different voice. A woman's. Good grief, poor gal. Come, cub, go buy me some more linen. I'm gonna have to replace these, and quick. Alida frowns. Boiling linen? Surely Imperial medical staff would be better supplied than that. Is she in an emergency field hospice somewhere? And that wouldn't explain the mattress. She should be on a field bed if that was the case. No. She has to be in the med bay. She has to be. Nothing else would make sense. Perhaps they haven't been supplied in a while. Rabbits are damn good at hitting Imperial cargo lines, or so the soldiers Alida fought alongside like to complain. Yes, she's in the med bay. She is sure of it. She's going to open her eyes, see that she's surrounded by the comfortably claustrophobic metal of the Imperial base's walls and ceilings, and wait for the staff to inform Handler that she's awake again. Everything is going to be fine. Then, why is it so hard for Alida to open her eyes? Footsteps again. Leading away from the bed this time. Heavier ones. Must be Cobb then. An unusual name for an Imperial. Perhaps a local healer, drafted for the needs of war. Doesn't matter right now. Alida needs to open her eyes. She needs to know for sure that she's in the med bay. And maybe ask for some more of her stims. Her dry mouth and clammy, shaking hands tell her withdrawals are going to get worse fast without them. She takes a deep breath, ignoring the stabbing agony it causes, and the protests from this Marceline lady it draws both. Then, with great effort and an extreme exertion of willpower, Alida forces her eyelids open. The first thing she notices is the beautiful sunlight falling in through the open window to her left. The second thing is the comfortable straw-like mattress she's lying on, contained within a charmingly hand-carved wooden bed frame. The final thing Alida registers before blind panic sets in is the face of the matronly woman kneeling next to her bed. It's warm, friendly, plump, half covered in curly red hair. Alida realizes there is no conceivable universe in which this kind face belongs to an Imperial medic, and the fragile walls of her psyche she'd only just begun to shore up all come crashing down again. A piercing, agonized wail sends Hazy rocketing awake in Ma and Pa's bed. All exhaustion gone in an instant. She's on her feet before she knows what's happening. She's only swaying slightly as she throws on her dress. Hazy hears shouting from Ma in the hallway and from Pa in the kitchen, but she ignores all of it, storming towards the place where they've put the girl Hazy found. Her bedroom. She dives past Ma, in through the open doorway, and there finds a terrible sight. The girl she's found, wide-eyed, squeezing herself into a corner of the room on all fours and screaming her lungs out. A gigantic red stain on her belly shows she's lost a lot of blood again, but it doesn't seem to bother her much, her eyes darting around Hazy's bedroom in a state of utter terror. Hazy takes a small, careful step closer, her hands raised in a calming gesture. The girl across from her snarls, teeth bared. Now that she's conscious, more conscious than when Hazy found her at least, there's a bright wildness in her eyes that breaks Hazy's heart. It's okay, Hazy stammers, coming to a halt. I ain't gonna hurt ya. She's not even sure if the words mean anything to the girl across from her. She certainly doesn't seem to acknowledge them at all. Cautiously, Hazy steps forward again, entering the room proper. The poor, disheveled, bleeding girl across from her rises to her haunches with a whine, curls forward, and lets out a noise halfway between a bark and a shout. Hazy freezes in place, unsure what to do. She likes to think she's halfway decent at consoling and calming down people, but the woman across from her seems like she has more in common with a spooked horse than a person. Or a wild dog. Hazy thinks grimly, remembering the muzzle some vile monster had put on the girl. Was that because she'd actually bite? Or was it some sick kind of power play? Hazy doesn't move. The girl doesn't either. For a moment, they stand there, frozen in time. The girl's stomach bleeds. Hazy's heart does too. Then, the spell is broken by Ma's voice, quietly from behind. Good grief, girl's bleeding for 20. Why on earth is she moving? Then, louder and sternly, Get some herbs Doctor left for us, Corp. The ones for the wound. We need staunch the bleeding. Hazy cranes her neck to look at Ma. She notices the girl's eyes darting from her to Hazy's mother, too. Ma stands in the doorway, clean, dry linen in her hands. The last of the batch Hazy had boiled last night. Pa shouts an answer over the sound of cackling fire and sputtering water, apparently in the middle of preparing more. Hasty footsteps follow, and Pa appears next to Ma, face bead red from the steam of the boil pot. He hands Ma the pouch Dr. Broscoat given the cultresses, full of dried, powdered herbs to keep the wound clean from infections. Hazy wanted to keep it on her, but it had to be stored warm and dry, so she'd conceded to letting them be kept in the kitchen cupboard. Step aside, Hazy, Ma says, placing a hand on her shoulder. I need to go to help the poor girl. Ma, wait, only she's... Hazy begins to stammer, but Ma pushes her aside and strides into the room. Everything happens so fast. 1 second the girl's on the far side of the room, growling, swaying unsteadily on her feet, blood dripping through her now useless bandage. The next she's cleared over half of Hazy's room, flinging herself through the air like a wolf in the chicken coop, barreling into Ma, sending her crashing to the ground. A shriek of shock, thankfully not of pain, fills the room as Ma near misses, bashing her head in against Hazy's drawing table, the girl on top of her, covering her in blood and the drool dripping from her bare teeth. Pa shouts, Ma screams, and the girl opens her mouth, diving for Ma's throat. Hazy's mind races. She can see what's going to happen, and if she does nothing, she's going to lose her mother to this girl whose life she tried to save. She's already sprinting through the room, but there's no way she can get there in time to help, and even if she could, she doubts she could best the girl in a fight or even pose much of a challenge. Stop! She shouts. The girl doesn't react, eyes focused on Ma, batting aside her arm as the cultress matron tries to fend off her attacker. Suddenly, all of Hazy's fear and confusion fall away, replaced by only a singular, white-hot rage. She brought this girl into her home, she fought to get her help she needed, and now the thanks she gets is getting her mother murdered in front of her? Images flash through her mind. The dog-like metal machine she found the girl in, the muzzle she was wearing, the growling, the haunching, the sinking to all fours. Instinctively, she knows what to do. It'll work, there's no doubt. Dog! Hazy shouts, her voice poisonous with fury. Heel! Hound freezes. He does not recognize the voice that gave the command, but then he does not remember the sound of her voice. It has thoroughly repressed those memories. They are still too fresh and too painful. Even thinking of what it has deliberately forgotten about her is painful. It does not remember her voice, and so, hearing an order given so forcefully, so full of authority, its deeply drilled instinct kicks in and it obeys. It rolls off the human whose throat it was about to tear out and rests on its hind legs, claws raised to its chest. It stares blankly, expectantly at the pretty girl it decides must be Handler. Hound does not remember Handler having brown hair falling off her shoulders in subtle waves. He does not remember her skin being so sun-kissed. He does not remember her eyes being so full of anger, or her face being so kind. But it does not remember anything about Handler, and so it must simply be that this is what Handler always has looked like. It is glad to see her again. It has been so long. Hound barks and pants, the strenuous activity just now blending with the pain in its gut to take all the air out of its lungs. Its paws shake. It needs its stimulants. Hopefully Handler has some. The anger in Handler's eyes has already evaporated, replaced now by worry and horror. Hound whines. Did it do something wrong? It hates to see her upset. It doesn't remember her ever being this expressive, but surely she must have been. The woman Hound had attacked for entering what must be its new kennel scrambles up to her feet, grabbing the cloth and the baggage she had been carrying. A low, rumbling growl escapes Hound's throat. It still does not trust this human. But Handler shushes Hound. "It's okay," she says. "Ma's a friend." Instantly, Hound's feelings shift. Handler says the human is a friend, and so Hound feels affection well up for her. She feels a little guilty for attacking her now. She doesn't want to hurt her friends. Friends? Friends? Does Handler have friends? That seems strange. Hound shakes its head to clear the unwelcome thought away. Of course Handler has friends. Who wouldn't want to be friends with her? It crawls over to Handler's friend, swaying a little from the blood it has lost, and whines, baring its neck and pawing at her legs by way of apology. Handler's friend looks at Hound with bewilderment written all across her face. It's so kind. How could Hound ever have thought she was a threat? Good grief, girl, Handler's friend says. What in the name of all good's holy did they do to you? Hound doesn't respond. It doesn't understand the question. It whines again. It wants to be good. It wants to know. It wants to help Handler's friend. Ma, the bandages, Handler says. Then, with shaking, uncertain voice, she adds, and, dog, lie down on the bed. A hesitant order? Hound doesn't remember her ever giving one of those before. But an order nevertheless. Quickly and without complaint, Hound scuttles over to the bed, lifting itself back on the soft mattress it had just awoken on. It's covered in crusts of Hound's dried blood, fresh splatters dripping down upon them. Hound hopes it hasn't ruined the sheets. Doesn't want to mess up the things Handler gives to it. It rolls over on its back, exposing its wounded belly. Handler's friend hurries over, taking off the cloth wrapped around Hound's gut. Hound whimpers as the sticky linen comes off with some difficulty, tugging at the ragged edges of the injury. It's not healing anytime soon, at least it's not infected, Handler's friend says, after studying the injury for a moment. She turns to the small bedside table and puts her hand in the pouch, pulling out some crushed up plants and sprinkling them in a little bowl of water, presumably placed there earlier for this exact purpose. Handler's friend stirs the mixture until a vaguely green slurry remains, which she then takes over to the bed. I'm going to put this on your wound, she says, speaking slowly. It's going to sting a little bit, but it'll keep you clean, okay? Hound blinks. It doesn't understand what's being asked of it. Why is it getting a warning for pain? Pain is normal. Pain is a constant of its life. Unsure of what to do, it looks over to Handler. Surely, Handler knows best. She always does. Handler says. It's okay, dog. She seems uncertain. Repulsed even. Hound's heart pounds in its throat. For once not from the stim. Why is Handler disgusted? Is she disgusted with Hound? Did Hound do a bad job? Did it fail? A cavalcade of unwanted memories burst out of the tightly repressed corners of Hound's mind. And the last thing it does before shutting down its mind entirely to prevent them from sinking in is vomiting up copious amounts of blood. Hazy stifles a scream as the poor woman on her bed spews up the shreds of her innards, blood and bile mixed on the already stained sheets to produce an almost magnetically repulsive stench. The girl, at least Hazy desperately wants to believe there's still a girl in there, somewhere, barely seems to notice that she's now covered in her own fluids. Her eyes glaze over as she falls back down on the bed, not reacting to anything, not Ma wordlessly and proficiently recleaning the wound, not the incredible pain she must be in. Nothing. Hazy rushes forward and kneels down next to the bed, gently taking hold of the girl's hand as it motionlessly dangles off to the side. For a moment, Hazy fears that she has gone catatonic, that the last thing she'd have remembered is Hazy calling her a dog and ordering her around like an animal. The thought makes a bile of her own rise up in her throat, but Hazy bites it down. There's enough of a mess to clean up already. Thankfully, just as Hazy fears the girl won't wake up again, her eyes flutter open, and her gaze slowly drifts across the room. First to Ma, then to Pa, having just returned with some clean bed linen and a fresh nightgown. Finally, to Hazy. The wildness has left the woman's eyes, Hazy notices, though a certain cloudiness flits around the edges of her irises. She seems more coherent, more tired too. A moan escapes the girl's lips, the first truly human sound Hazy has heard the girl make. A relief, even if it's a sign of pain and misery. There is still a woman in there. Where am I? The girl manages to slur out, her voice, though so strained as to be barely comprehensible, is beautiful. Hazy can't help but notice. You're Slane's rest, darling, Ma says. Hazy here found you good and hurt, banged up something fierce in that machine of yours. Took you in, figured we'd best take care of you. The girl blinks, slowly. It's clear the name of this sleepy, isolated village doesn't mean anything to her. It probably wouldn't, Hazy supposes, or perhaps she just struggles to understand Ma's accent. You're someplace safe, sweetheart, Hazy says, doing her best to talk like merchant girl did. Surely, a world-traveling trader's way of speaking would have to be understandable to more people than the way folks spoke round here. The girl repeats slowly, mulling it over like she doesn't understand the concept. She winces as Ma smears the poultice on her wound. Why, it's that. Ma and Hazy exchange worried looks. Poor girl's memory was far gone. Hazy hopes she doesn't have a brain injury or something. She's not sure even Dr. Brosco could treat that. It's a little something keeps the wound clean, darling, Ma says as she wraps up the wound, going 3 times around. There. That shouldn't be bleeding through no more. Let me help you on some clean clothes. She reaches out and takes the girl's other arm, Hazy getting up to support her as well. The girl blinks, but after a moment, seems to understand what is being offered. She rises to her feet with the help of the 2 cultresses, but as soon as she stands, she falls over sideways, Hazy only barely able to catch her. The girl is heavy, she realizes. There's a lot more muscle on her than she thought. It's lucky all the farm work gave Hazy some right strength of her own, or she reckons the girl would have sent them both crashing to the floor. The girl stammers out. Hazy blinks. She's not sure what that means. Was the woman just not able to finish her sentence? Pa snaps her fingers. The doctor said something about that, he did. He struggles to remember the words Dr. Bronco used. Deep furrows across his brow. Acute stimulant withdrawal. He eventually manages, with no small degree of pride in his voice, said she'd been eating take these every few hours per week once she woke up. Pa produces another pouch. A much bigger one this time. He opens it, and within Hazy sees more dried herbs, though not the faint arid green of the disinfectant poultice. No, these are deep, vibrant reds and dark midnight blues mixed together to produce a beautiful patina of colors. Pa sprinkles some of the cup Hazy keeps in her room and pours some water from her drinking jug in, stirring the mixture with his finger. The water turns a beautiful purple as it leaches the colors from Dr. Bronco's herbs. Pa makes to hand the ceramic cup over to the girl before realizing how weak she is and thinking better of it. At a glance from her father, as he helps the girl sit back down on the bed. They're far past worrying about the stains in either the mattress or the night shroud she's wearing, and Pa puts the cup to the girl's lips. She drinks with no hesitation or resistance, an empty look in her eyes. Sour, she remarks after having finished the cup, her voice a little steadier. She blinks. Feel better. Glad to hear it, sweetlin', Ma says with a patient smile. Now, let's be getting ya into some clean clothes, yeah? Then Gerda's eyes swivel towards Ma, still blank, but they seem less shaky, less fragile. She doesn't respond, but she does get up on her own accord this time, only needing a slight bit of support from Hazy to stand upright. They quickly help the girl strip off everything but her bandages. Everything else is caked in blood and bile, not worth wearing again, that it's been thoroughly washed a few times. Hazy realizes something. She didn't really have the time to even think about it before, when she was helping bandage the girl for the first time. She was still in crisis mode then, but the woman standing unsteadily before her is beautiful. As pretty as Merchant Girl, though in a different way. She's got a real cute face, elegant black hair, still silky despite the girl having gone through what seems like a few days of hell. Mars tied it back in a long ponytail to keep it out the girl's face, her bangs framing her high cheekbones, an almost aristocratically dainty face like a painter's masterpiece. Her eyebrows are thin and meticulously cared for, drawing attention to her gorgeously deep brown eyes. The taut, wiry muscles in her arms really accentuate her frame, the abs she's sporting beautifully complementing her small, perky breast. Sweat glistening on her olive skin, beading like little dewdrops and making her look all the prettier to Hazy. Below, she's anything but small, though. Thighs like steel cables, a butt you could bounce coins off of, and good grief, Hazy looks away, cheeks burning. She shouldn't be thinking these thoughts about a guest, much less someone in the predicament this girl is in, especially not in front of her parents. It's too late, though. The girl's already noticed. She looks over at Hazy with a blank, poisoned smile. "It's okay," she says. "If you want me, you can have me." The happy, carefree tone with which she says it terrifies Hazy. She hasn't got much experience with this sort of thing, but that didn't seem like something you'd just offer that casually to a total stranger whom you didn't even really agree to let you see naked, not unless someone had done something deeply, deeply wrong to you. Without a further word, and desperately not looking at her parents, as he quickly helps the girl into the clean gown while Pa swaps out the bedsheets. The girl looks a lot better now that she's not covered in blood, bearing the occasional swaying on her feet, the empty look in her eyes, and the same blissful, toxic smile on her face. It almost seems like there is nothing wrong with her. I'm Hazy," Hazy stammers out. "What's your name?" The girl across from her just stares at her for a few seconds, with that horridly unnatural happy look on her, until she manages to process Hazy's words. "I'm..." she begins, trailing off for a moment. The smile on her face falters. Hazy shivers. Did whoever heard this poor girl do such a number on her that she forgot her own name? A brief spark in the girl's eyes. Her entire posture swells for a moment. Life briefly returns to her. "I'm Alida," she exclaims, a note of pride in her voice. "Nice to meet you." Hazy breathes a sigh of relief. At least she isn't fully gone. Alida. It's a beautiful name, she thinks. She'd seen it on the little medallions the girl had carried. Or at least that's what Dr. Bronco had said was written on them. Dog tags, he'd called them. Hazy had gotten angry. Thought they had something to do with the muzzle, another sick humiliation. But the doctor had assured her that no, those things were apparently just standard issue for people fighting the war, though he wasn't sure if they were the girls or just a trophy she'd kept. She tries to remember what the last name the doctor had read out for her and Pa was. Chondax, she recalled. A pretty name. She'd not heard the likes of it before. A few rooms over, the baby begins crying. Pa hurries over to tend to its needs, leaving the three women alone in the room. For a moment, all three are silent, unsure what to say. Ma, as ever, comes to the rescue. Right, well, it's lovely to be meeting ya, Alida, she says in the tone of voice reserved for the Trollocs and other exceptionally welcome guests. I think I best go wash the blood on out of these here fabrics and myself, for it sets, so I'll be a mite busy for a bit. Hazy here'll show you around. Get some food in ya, some tea maybe too. Hazy perks up. Tea was a rare treat. Can only get it from Merchant Girl, so it's saved for special occasions. Okay, Alida says, the big, vacant grin never quite leaving her face nor reaching her eyes. By the way, where's my muzzle? I'm not supposed to take it off. Hazy and Ma exchange worried glances. Ma coughs and speaks up. You can't really eat while you're wearing it, can ya? We'll fetch it for you later. Oh, true, Alida says dreamily. Okay. Relieved that whatever weirdness has been going on with the muzzle has been tabled for now, Hazy shoots a grateful look at Ma, who looks at her daughter with kindness in her glance. It's all right, Hazy, Ma whispers. You didn't look on purpose. No, you didn't mean nothing by it. Hazy knows Ma's words are meant as a reassurance, but right now they just make her want to sink through the floor and never reappear. Well, right, yeah, she stammers, desperate to get out of this conversation now, please. We'd, best be going then. Not awaiting a response, Hazy takes Alida by the hand and pulls her out of her room, taking her to the kitchen, away from Ma before she can start having any ideas about Hazy, Alida, and grandchildren. She'll show Alida the farm in a bit, Hazy resolves. First, she reckons she should get some food in the girl. She hasn't eaten at all for the several days she was out. You hungry? Hazy asks as they enter the small, comfortable kitchen. It's not quite messy, just cluttered in the organized way spaces get when they have a lot of objects needing to be stored in a limited amount of space. Oh, yeah, Alida says, as if the thought of hunger, being something to resolve, is alien to her. I guess I could eat. At least she has stopped slurring, Hazy notes. Those herbs from the doctor work fast. Right. Well, we've only just made it through winter, as I'm sure you know, so we ain't got much fresh, Hazy says, putting out the wooden chopping block and the big knife. Got some bread and cheese. Can get ya some salted jerky too, if you want. Hazy's eyes sparkle and her mouth hangs open in the shape of no. What? She says, watching Hazy cut thick slices of dark bread and layering them with equally generous slices of cheese. I can have that? Of course, Hazy says, slightly confused. Didn't they feed you back where you came from? Reckon your military types would need it be eaten good, machine on their stomach and all. I know, Alida says, eyes fixated on the food. I don't think she hasn't given me anything like that in a long time. Hazy's ears perk up at the sheer reverence Alida puts in that pronoun. She asks. Yeah, her, Alida responds, starstruck. Eyes glaze over a bit as she dreamily utters the next word. Handler. Hazy looks at Alida, expecting some sort of explanation, but the girl isn't forthcoming and Hazy doesn't want to push her too hard. Military rank, she guesses. A weird one to her ears, but then she doesn't know the first thing about military type, so she supposes it's probably normal. She shrugs and finishes preparing an extra royal meal for Alida, and one for herself too. She hasn't exactly eaten much the last couple of days either. Hazy puts the kettle on and sits down to break bread with Alida. The food seems to help the girl come to life a bit, and the two of them begin talking. Hazy about Selene's rest and the farm and the baby, Pa's back pain, the new horse, anything she can think of to make the girl across from her feel at ease, really. Alida about fewer things. She doesn't seem to remember much. Her Mac, as she calls it, the Sparrow Song, apparently. She talks about it like Pa does the new horse, like a revered family member and trusted companion. Jaxie tactfully declines to mention the sorry state the machine is in. Alida also talks on the war, although her accounts are scattered and almost self-contradictory. Sometimes Jaxie thinks Alida doesn't quite seem sure which side she was even fighting on, but she shrugs off the ridiculous notion. The girl's been through so much, she thinks. Makes sense she's struggling to remember things right now. The last subject that Alida speaks on, the one she seems to love the most, is that handler lady she mentioned earlier. As Jaxie suspected, she seems to be Alida's commanding officer. She talks about her a little weirdly, lazy chalks it up to the concussion Dr. Brosco said she has. It's clear that Alida is very grateful to this handler, and that she was apparently the only person that was nice to Alida during the war, so Jaxie supposes she feels grateful to the woman. From the sound of it, Alida has been put through so much already, and Jaxie senses there's plenty more she's not talking about right now. She's just glad somebody seemed to be on Alida's side. The rest of the day passes in a blur. Jaxie shows Alida around the farm. She appears to greatly enjoy the outside walk and the fresh air. They find Poddy Trolloc hanging over the fence near the woodshed, here to introduce himself to the new girl. Talk of the town, he says. Alida's pleasant enough to him, and he politely doesn't prod too much, though he does shoot her a sad, haunted look that seems to leave Alida completely unfazed. Both have been through the war, Jaxie supposes. It makes sense that Trollocs would feel some kinship with the girl. In the afternoon, Jaxie takes Alida to go see the animals, though, given her injuries, she obviously doesn't let her help out yet. Alida loves the chickens, gently holding and cuddling one for the entire time Jaxie's feeding them, though she seems afraid of the cows and pigs. Kinda funny for someone used to piloting a machine like that Meg of hers in the war to be afraid of anything, Jaxie thinks. She shrugs. Military types, she won't judge. Girl's been through enough. Alida asks about her muzzle a few more times. Jaxie dances around it whenever it's brought up. Alida accepts Jaxie's excuses, but she seems a little more stressed about it each time. At dinner, all four cultists and Alida share the now cramped dining space, and Alida eats for three. Jaxie's glad they didn't find the girl in the middle of winter. If she eats like this every meal, she's not sure the food stocks would have lasted. Pa set up a cot next to Jaxie's bed, so he and Ma can go back to sleeping in their room, and Jaxie will take the cot while Alida rests up in her bed. Alida, having taken her last dose of medicine for the day, is out as soon as she touches down on the mattress. Jaxie's relieved to see her bandage hasn't bled through. The girl deserves a clean bed to wake up in. As Jaxie lies down on the spare cot, the memories of the day flood through her. She's finally got some time to process it all, and only now does she realize how much it's all been. She commanded Alida like a dog, and Alida listened. That still viscerally disgusts Jaxie, though a small part of herself, one she tries to deny, whispers about how powerful she felt to so completely control a girl so beautiful. No, Jaxie resolves. Alida deserves better. She'll be more like that handler Alida seems to love so much, Jaxie thinks. Someone unconditionally in Alida's corner. Someone who'd never even dream of hurting Alida like that. Yes, Jaxie thinks. She doesn't know the woman at all, but she does feel a degree of connection with her. Jaxie will look after Alida like Handler did. With her resolve strengthened, Jaxie finally begins to fall asleep. The only thing that disturbs her peace of mind is that one sentence Alida said to her earlier, while she was helping her change. The one Jaxie desperately wants to forget, but that she already knows is burned into her mind forever. The one that's going to make being like Handler so much harder for her. If you want me, you can have me.